Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most.
All right, Eric, we're back. You ready?
Ready to rock.
Let's do this, man. This conversation I want us to have about inspiration, because my company is ADO. It's the Latin word for inspire. I wrote a book about inspiration.
You're the guy. Your middle name is Inspiration.
My middle name. But sometimes I don't feel very inspired as a dad. And by the way, let's time out before we dive in. Inspiration is not like, it's easy to be inspired when my son gets the game ball after the T-ball game.
Oh, let me tell you, Camden, my oldest, basketball is my sport. Not very good, but I muscled my way, played a lot of basketball in my life. 32 points.
32 points.
Championship game.
That's impressive.
Third and fourth.
I like to see...
I was very inspired.
I like to see your social media stories on it. When you see your wife's social media stories, Brittany's, you can't really see it. You just hear her yelling in the background. She is intense.
She's inspired too. But yes, I agree with you, man. Like those when you're fired up.
Laura swore she'd never be that mom that cared that much about the games. And yeah, we're out there yelling and screaming. Yeah. Okay, but real inspiration is not those moments. It was like, let me take you back. First road trip. My oldest son now, but when he was a few weeks old, we went to visit my wife's family, Laura's family down in South Georgia, where they're from. We're driving back. Do you try to beat the GPS?
Always.
Like, okay.
So it's what keeps me alive on those trips.
So competitive, we're doing well, and then the smell comes from the back seat. Any dads that are like at middle school stage are like, this is bringing back PTSD now of that age. But we pull over, go to I think we went to a racetrack. I was the first one out of the car. Unbuckled him, put my hand behind his back. I don't know if you've ever felt this before. This is what we call a blowout. The diaper could not hold all of this, the stuff, the crap, whatever you want to call it. And man, like I went and changed the diaper. I'm not even going to go into the details because it just brings back bad memories. But like being inspired, I think, is like being willing to deal with the crap that you don't want to deal with sometimes. Like it's easy to be a dad in the big moments. It's how are you like a good dad in the everyday moments and stay inspired to hang in there, to have the community we've talked about and to be there. So do you often feel, let me ask you the other way. Do you feel times where you're not inspired as a dad?
Oh, absolutely. And I think you hit it right. I mean, it's easy for me and coaching my son and I'm seeing him do something magic, right? Or I'm cheering on my girls as they're taking their first steps, those moments, right? But you got to find a way to muscle through the mundane.
Ooh, I like that.
You just have to. And you got to show up in a way that's meaningful. It's interesting. I can remember when my twins, my girls who are now 4, man, those first 6 months, I'll tell you what, were operational. Like it wasn't even a...
You're just trying to survive?
Survival. Yeah. I mean, you're going from, they eat every hour and a half and you got 2 of them and Brittany and I are just trying to roll through it. And it was an operation. It was a manufacturing, like feed them, change them, put them down, sleep for 17 minutes, repeat, right? But I'll tell you, I'm trying to think who I heard this from. So I'm not even going to try to quote it, like who it came from. But there's this kind of moment I can remember vividly, like 3 a.m. and so tired and just like, reminding myself that I get to do it.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes you're talking to yourself a little bit. You're like, okay, you get to do this. But like, it's the reality of it.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed in those moments when I can think of it that way, that I get to do this. My child needs me in the blowout where I'm trying to clean him up and he's not miserable. But you almost have to really push yourself to find that inspiration because it's about something bigger, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you my advice is that you should just own that quote. I've heard it said this way: the first time you hear something said, you should attribute it, like, "Hey, Thomas Edison said," and the second time you should say, "I've heard it said," and by the third time you say it, you should just say, "I always say," I get to do this. So I just think
I
it
love
should be Eric Blumenthal. We get to do this.
If we end up, you don't leave me and we do this by episode 11, I'll change it.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
I'd love if you'd indulge me for just a couple minutes. Because I love this idea of inspiration in a corporate world, I would love to pressure test, but full permission to tell me I'm wrong on any of this. Mm-hmm. I would love to see if the concepts we have looked at for inspiration in a corporate world hold up when it comes to fatherhood. Does that work? Because what you like, everybody has found times they are inspired and times they're not inspired. And my question is, could we engineer inspiration into our lives? Could we say, like, what exists when we are inspired and make that true all the time? And here's the deal. I have found, again, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I found 3 things in the business world that if we have these 3 things present in our environment, that we will be inspired. And I'm going to give them to you off the top, and then I want to dive into each of them. Those 3 things to be inspired are purpose, partners, and problem. Purpose, partners, and problem. Purpose, I think, goes to the heart of what we're talking about with legacy. Partners hits on what we talked about with community. I don't think we've quite hit on problems yet, so we'll hit that. But let's start with purpose. The way that I remember my purpose as a dad is this. I heard a line from Andy Stanley, and it's in a faith context, but I think it applies here. He said, your most important contribution to the kingdom of God may not be something you do, but someone you raise. So the most important thing we do in our life may not be something we accomplish, it's somebody we raise. To me, that's legacy, and I want to keep that at the forefront of purpose. How do you remember your purpose in what you said earlier, the mundane moments?
Yeah, I think, I love that quote. For me, I was going to share, for me, it's the continual reminder that it's not about me. And that's really hard. And the reason I have to remind me, and I have a bracelet where it says I am second. And it's a reminder continually that I need to be present. I need to be available. I need to ensure that the interactions that I could easily run by because I'm going from one thing to the next, there's nothing insignificant. We've shared stories over the last couple episodes of these moments that are really important. And I think if we're so focused on just the day-to-day, you miss that. And so for me, I'm reminded of purposes. I just need to remember that there's something going on that's bigger than me, and I'm not the most important thing, and I have to be outwardly focused and ensure that I'm trying to bring my very best, make a situation better, be a relentless encourager, and try to live that out daily.
Okay. How do you keep that top of mind? Because I love, physically, you have this bracelet. You made fun of my box that I have at home, my RO box. You said
this bracelet's like 32 cents. You probably got duped into a $70 box.
I think it may have been more than that. But there is, I'm interested in those reminders because, again, I'm trying to draw a parallel from business to here. But in business, I say that when the purpose is clear, the mundane becomes meaningful. So if I remember the purpose, I'm willing to do those mundane things. What are the other mechanisms to keep the purpose top of mind? I know our kids are in front of us all the time. We have our relationship with our wives, but how do you do that? Want a bracelet? What else?
Yeah, no, I think about in a business setting, the mission is probably pretty clear, right? There's a mission statement people are rallying around. So I think the first, taking even a step back before the bracelet, are you clear on what you're trying to accomplish? I think a lot of us, Kevin, and myself included, we go through so we're good at work, at least me. You and I, we're wired very similarly. I'm more comfortable at work, candidly.
Me too.
Now, Brittany and I her and I, that's easy. That's the fine there. But I come home, middle of chaos, 4 kids, dinners, we're shut. I am more I was joking around with her yesterday. We have 4 kids. We had 2 kids spend the night with the boys. We have a bunch of nieces and nephews. She had 2 of them over. She sends me a picture. There's 8 children in my house. And I'm like, she said, when are you going to be home? And I was like, when you confirm that at least 50% of those bodies are not in my house, right? So I think I'm more comfortable elsewhere. I can get in front of my team and say, look, here's what we're going to go do. Culture is about this. But do you have that at home?
Okay.
Do you have a purpose at home that you can say, your wife can say, your kids can say, right? So I would even start with, are you clear about what you're trying to accomplish?
This is convicting for me because I don't have that. If you ask me what's my purpose at work, like I can spout out the 6 lines of what or 6 words of why our organization exists, and I can tie my activities to that.
Right.
I remember when we were first doing this dad's group in your basement, we read this book by Mark Batterson, and he taught. Remember, he had like the big. I don't even know what it's called, like a manifesto for his family.
Yep.
And it almost felt a little bit intimidating. But I think that's a good reminder. We've got to, we should be clear about our purpose for our roles as dads.
Absolutely. And not only just that we're walking around it with in our heads, our kids should know that too. Now, things are better, caught versus taught. So they should see us act it out. But if I'm going to be, one of the things I want to be is a relentless encourager. Well, I got to live that out, but I want my kids to know that that's important to me. Hey, buddy, as you know, your dad wants to be somebody in your life that is going to encourage you every day that I'm here. And then the feedback comes. Like you tie it together there, right? I think we, are so focused on just, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to work this way. I'm going to do these things, and people will just understand. Yeah, but I think reinforcing it's really, really important. And we don't have that. I don't want to sit here and say we don't have that manifesto as a family. Brittany and I have talked about it. I think now as the kids are, 2 4-year-olds, an 8-year-old, 10-year-old, one of the things we were kind of reluctant to do is all of that work in isolation. Like I want them to contribute. So it's something we've been talking about. But I do think that family mission, even if it's as simple as, look, we're going to love people or we're going to show up in this way. The Blumenthal family is going to be that. But I think that's vital.
Yeah.
And get the kids to rally around that. You talk about inspiration, and like that to me, there's got to be something bigger to me. Inspiration is about something bigger than me. We get it riled up. I see Kirby Smart giving a pregame speech. I'm ready to run through a wall. Well, he's giving a speech about that game, but he's talking about excellence. He's talking about winning a championship at the end of the season. So inspiration is rooted in a belief that there's something bigger out there that I can go attack.
Yeah.
And then it's having the discipline to go live it out. Nick Saban, thankfully, he's no longer a college football coach because I'm tired of him beating the Georgia Bulldogs over and over and over. I heard him speak once, man, and it has stuck with me forever. He said, you will either suffer the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment. Only both painful, but very different.
Yeah.
And when you're inspired to go after something, the pain of that discipline isn't as painful as if it's just like slugging through. You know what I mean?
Okay, so if we're going to be inspired, we've got to have a purpose. That's true in work. It's true in our relationship with our spouse, and it's true in our relationship with our kids. There's purpose. The second thing is, and let's talk about the spouse piece for a second. Let's talk about your relationship with Brittany, my relationship with Laura, everybody. The second key ingredient to inspiration is partners. And we talked about that a little bit in community. It's people that love us enough to tell us what we want to hear when we need to hear that and give us a kick in the butt when we need it. But I found that we are never consistently inspired if we don't have other people on the journey with us. How do you think of the role of partnership in being a good dad? Because obviously there's probably some single dads listening to this.
Yep.
There may have been dads that either divorced or their spouse passed away. But I think for most of us, there is that relationship, and it's got to be at the center.
Yeah.
How do you think
about
that?
And I would even take a step further. If you're a dad listening to this and you're divorced, that doesn't mean that partnership stops, right? Your kids need to see a healthy relationship regardless. If it's unfortunate it's not in the same house, but you still have a responsibility to demonstrate what a healthy relationship looks like, whether that's with your new spouse or certainly their mom, right? But partners are vital to this. I've been married almost 15 years at the time that we're recording this. And as I think back about it for the 15 years and I think about what do I know now at almost 15 years in versus what I didn't know at day one, or certainly when I had our first child, is the vital power in having a spouse that is not only like along with you, but is truly rooting you on.
Man.
Right? There's a difference when you talked about those friends that'll give you a kick in the butt. Like Brittany's got, for me, has no challenge doing that for me. But it took me a while to realize it was coming from a place of she wanted something, she could see something better in me versus I felt like I was being nagged or I felt like she was, whatever. So I think the partner piece is you try to translate that from business to the house. Dude, that partnership with your better half is the most important thing in my mind for creating a legacy. And again, if that person, you're no longer married to them, that doesn't mean it's still the same. You still have to have that relationship with your spouse and a partnership to have a maximized legacy.
You and I have a mutual friend named David Salyers. He was at Chick-fil-A for a number of years. And when he talks about teams, he's talking about business mainly, but he says that great teams do three things. They believe the best in each other, they want the best for each other, and they expect the best from each other. Believe the best in, want the best for, expect the best from. When you talk about your relationship with Brittany, I think about this for me and Laura. Like, when she gives me feedback, when she gives me a kick in the butt that I don't want, when she challenges me, I've got to start with believing the best in. Like, she wants what's best for me. So she's got to believe in me. I've got to believe that, wanting the best for her. So that's like a true partnership in the way that I serve her and we do that. And then I do think this expecting the best from, like, there's a reciprocal, like, it's not, encouragement is important, and we also have to have some level of expectations as well. And it has to go both ways. It has to be just a partnership, not just, it's not just one person kind of bearing the brunt of things.
Yeah, it doesn't work if not. And I think what you said, like, as you said that to me, what I kept saying in my head was assume positive intent. I can't speak for you, but for me, when feedback comes, especially from those closest to me, that defensiveness just, I mean, I can feel myself. Now, if someone at work said to me, hey man, you did a great job here, even if they did a little water sandwich, great job here, but I think you meant to do this, but this didn't come across that way, I would have been, oh my goodness, I needed to hear that. Thank you for giving me that. Like, that wasn't, but we're good. Too often at home, it's like you're locked up. It's fight. And so I think continuing to take the breath and assume positive intent are vital for that.
Isn't that crazy that, like, because I'm naturally, like, I'm wired to be a people pleaser, it is much easier for me to assume positive intent from someone not as close to me as the ones that are close to me, who actually definitely want what's best for me.
Yeah.
But my immediate reaction is defensiveness.
Yeah. So when you think about inspiration translating from corporate to home, we talked about purpose, vital. One thing that's interesting too, that I just want to go back to purpose that I heard, we'll keep talking about mutual friends and great leaders, Dan Cathy from Chick-fil-A, he's now the chairman, longtime CEO. He said something that's so important, I think, when you think about personal and we think about purpose. He would say, marry the mission, date the methods. Mm-hmm. So as we progress at home, our kids get older, different seasons of life, the purpose is vital. I don't think the purpose changes. I think we got to understand what that means for us. But we got to make sure we are comfortable and have enough agility to ensure the methods to get to that purpose are going to change. 5 years, 10 years ago, if you're a dad and you had a teenager, it's crazy to think how much has changed in just 10 years.
Yeah.
With the acceleration of social media, the influencing that's going on, what's happening in school, all the things. And what's going to be true 10 years from now is not the same today, but the mission can stay the same, but the methods of getting there are going to be different. So
it's a good reminder.
Purpose, vital.
Yep.
We talked about that. Partners. We could spend an hour talking about our amazing wives. Tell me about the third P.
So the third P is problems. And like, I know every dad is like, guys, we don't need any more problems. Like we got it. We've hit those. But you made a statement to me one time. You said we shouldn't check our ambition at the door. You remember that?
I do.
You said that? That our kids need to see us doing hard things. And what I found is to be inspired. Like, on one hand, it's our temptation is to say, I wish it was easier. Like, if life was easier, if raising my kids was easier, that would be great. But something I've learned is we are only inspired when we're doing hard things. A question that I ask friends a lot these days, you think about this community, I will ask them, what have you accomplished in your life that you're most proud of? What have you accomplished in your life you're most proud of? And if everybody thinks about that right now, everything they've accomplished that they're proud of is hard. Like they will say, raising kids, staying married, being a single parent, running a marathon, getting promoted in my career. And they're all hard things. And so here's a gut punch for you. If what we're most proud of in life are the hard things, why do most of us spend most of our lives trying to make our lives as easy as possible?
It's a cyclical thing. I think Michael Hopf, Hopf, I believe was the quote. He said, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
Okay, I know that quote. Say it again, because I think it's
hard times.
The cycle.
Hard times create strong men.
Okay, so when things are tough, like men, I think of like in my mind, I go to World War II.
I was about to say this is why you and I are sitting here having a emotionally available conversation about being good dads. Because here's what happened. This is I'm not a historian. I think World War II happened. Right? I know World War II happened. Hard times create strong men. World War II, my granddad, both my granddads, right? I'm sure, so hard times create strong men. Come back from war, seen a whole lot of hell and all kinds of awful things and on the brink of world ending. Strong men create good times. So they come back and they're like, look, my job is to create good times. Good times then create weak men.
Mm.
And then weak men create hard times, not on purpose, but because you take that eye off the ball, you're not as focused on making sure, and it will lead to probably a situation in your legacy where, you're not in that same spot or country. I mean, it's how civilizations, I think, fall too. So,
and not to be too like fatalistic here, but I think one of the reasons we think about legacy and doing this podcast is we don't want weak men that create hard times.
100%.
So while the hope and the purpose is that this is encouraging, I also hope for some guys it's like, hey, you got to man up. You got to stay inspired because your legacy is too important to check out. So you have to stay focused on the purpose. You got to stay locked in on the partners in our legacy makers thing at North Star that you've started on my table. Our table. I guess we're at the same table. Is that right?
Yeah, we are.
You're on stage a lot, so that's why. There's a guy named Andrew Johnson said that the biggest advice he got is the way that you can best serve your kids is love their mom well. Mm-hmm. So we got a purpose, we got to partners, and we've got to lean into those challenges.
I think I'll tell you, we have got to find opportunities to build resilience in our children. It is so against how we are wired. We want our kids to have better, easy, I'm doing all this work to make this better for you. And that's noble. I'm not saying it's not noble. But I challenge you, if you're listening to this, find the next opportunity that's hard. And it might, in the scheme of things, for your 7-year-old, you know that it's not very hard. But to them, their worst day is their worst day, right? I mean, you can't. I remember my oldest, he had a group of friends, 6 years old, starting to play travel baseball. For those of your eye rolling, the reason we played travel at 6 is because COVID happened, everything was canceled. So a group of guys started a team just so we could get the kids. We weren't going to have a canceled baseball season, right? So that team got better and better, and they became his best friends, and they played for 3.5 seasons. And for anybody that's listening and knows the family that is created in travel ball, if you have a good group of parents and good coaches, and I was coaching, and, my son wasn't one of the best players by any means, and he ended up getting cut. And it was tough because it wasn't like a arbitrary, like, oh, you're cut, buddy. It's like, these are family. Like, these are people that he's kind of grown up with. His coaches were people that were some of the most influential men in his life that weren't his family. Seeing him go through that was the hardest thing, I think, until my girls were born and some of the health issues they had that I went through as a dad. Like, when I had to tell him, hey, buddy, you didn't make the team, and just seeing that. But I had to resist the fixing. So here's our options, bud. We can do this. We can stop. Here's another team over here you can try out for. But seeing him pick himself up and talk about that, it was against my nature to do that. But you got to find moments for resilience in your kids because they are going to go through hard times. And what do you want them to do when you're not there?
So you've totally flipped this for me, what I'm thinking. Because in my mind, I was thinking about how do we stay inspired as dads? We got to have our purpose. We got to have partners. We got to have a problem. But I really think what you've now taken it to is how do we inspire our kids?
Yeah.
And all of those three things. If we want to be the dad, I think of the inspirational dad, like you think of probably, the coach that's standing there, but like the inspirational dad is one that reminds kids of their purpose, that they have value, that they were created with a purpose. Remind them that you're going to be a partner to them. You're going to be that, and encourage them to pursue problems, to take on challenges, to become better. And so, man, that's what I'm taking away is we've got to stay inspired, and we need to be a force that inspires our kids.
Yeah, and I think the thing I would add as we close this out is when that third P happens, when there's problems, we've got to grow a muscle that ends up being gratitude in the middle of that problem, which feels insane. But again, when you have an opportunity with your children to teach them resilience, be thankful for that opportunity and help them get through it, not do it for them, but let them make choices. But I think about this like notion of being thankful in the storm, because on the other side of that, if you are aware of that and you lean in accordingly, the growth on the other side of that is going to be exponential compared to I'm in a storm or I have a problem and oh, woe is me, or hey, little buddy, that was ridiculous. You should have made the team. You were there. You were better. We're going to go find this and I'm going to take you for ice cream. We're going to, what you got to lean in. And that's hard. So again, I would add to that. I think inspiration as a dad sometimes isn't necessarily about how am I inspired to show up. It's like knowing that I got to inspire these little people to go be the best they can be. And that's that legacy at the end of it.
Which that's our purpose. Yeah. That's why we're here, is to do that. So, man, it's been a lot of fun. Let's do it again.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.